What's going on, guys? It's your boy the Markham Knight here. Today's video is going to be about the news that just dropped for the movie Shazam. Now, for those of you who don't know, Shazam was a movie that was supposed to come out for a long time now. Some of you might know him as Captain Marvel, but since the thing going on with Marvel and they weren't allowed to use that name, they've been going by Shazam for about the last 15 years or so. But before I get into anything more than that, I just want to announce the news in case you haven't heard it. We have casting. Zachary Levi will be Shazam. Now, let's talk about Zachary Levi. I haven't really watched any of Zachary Levi's movie except one. Before I go into that, I know he's usually in comedy roles. The one role for Zachary Levi that I actually know him from is in Thor, where he's part of Thor's Warrior 3, and he's Fandral. And it's definitely going to be a different role than that, but the fact that he does have usually in comedic roles, it means he could have comedic chops, which to Shazam is very, very important. Another thing is it's a chance for a new face. Sometimes you don't need the big name actors to quite kind of deliver something huge. I mean, no one really knew Henry Cavill before Man of Steel, maybe from Immortals or something like that, but it's a chance for a new face to kind of get out there in the superhero scene and do something like that. But definitely interesting news. I haven't really watched him enough to say he has acting chops, but I am interested to see kind of what his take on it will be. He did post out an Instagram post which he kind of acknowledged the whole situation. He said, yeah, I'm very honored to take on the role of Captain Marvel and bring it to the big screen and all this stuff. But the thing that really interested me most was at the end of it, he said, now if you'll excuse me, I'll be in the gym for the rest of forever, which I really love. Because it's like, you know, if you're gonna be in a role like this, you gotta deliver on the body. And not everyone has to look like Henry Cavill or Chris Hemsworth or the super huge, crazy, hulking people. Like, you don't have to look like The Rock to basically be a superhero. They're gonna do a little bit of that anyway with the costume. So long as you're in really good shape, I'd like to say. Like, I mean, I'm saying he has to be in really good shape, and he knows that, and he's gonna get to that. And because he's 6'3" already, he kind of has the frame and everything already built up for it. And if you remember Henry Cavill, if you look at him in like, not even that far ago, if you look at him in his 20s, he's ridiculously thin. But if you look at him even in Tudors, he's not a big guy, even though they wanted to portray him as such and they gave him like a lot of clothes and stuff to make him look bigger than he was. But he himself is not a big guy, or at least he wasn't a big guy in that time. He had a decent sized frame, which is the same thing that Zachary Levi has, and he can definitely go ahead and pack on some more weight and put more weight on the frame. Yes, he's too thin right now. We all understand that. But the question is, will he be too thin for the movie? I think he'll be fine for the movie, to be completely honest with you. I feel like he's gonna bulk up, he's gonna look the part a lot more, and he doesn't have to be The Rock size. Shazam is not necessarily Black Adam. It's like, they're not the same character. They have a similar power set and everything, but they're not the same exact character. So long as he can bulk up enough so that it's not a huge contrast, it's not gonna be too bad. Now, I want to talk about the director. The director is David Sandberg. For those of you who don't know David Sandberg, I saw him at WonderCon. He was doing a panel. This was WonderCon 2016. He was doing a panel for Lights Out, and that was very cool. He's kind of James Wan's protege. He does horror movies and stuff. He also did Annabelle Creation. Basically, he's basically been a horror director thus far. He does a bunch of shorts and stuff like that, so you can kind of check out his work. But it's interesting to see that Warner Brothers wants to look for these horror directors to kind of basically run their superhero movies. I don't know what they've kind of seen in them. I feel like James Wan kind of proved himself a little with Furious 7, but I don't know if David Sandberg has kind of shown that. But other than that, he himself is a funny guy. in the panel, he was very, very funny. And he also had that fake script that he leaked on purpose where Shazam completely kicks Superman's ass. And it was really, really cool. It's just funny. You know he's not going to put that in the story, but just the fact that he's kind of taking that kind of approach to it is a lot more than what we would want, basically. That's something that we would need in a Shazam movie. It would have to be funny. Now, the story. First, let me talk about Shazam as the character. I did talk about this a little bit in my DC Cinematic Universe expectations, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about it a little more now, go into a little more depth. Shazam is basically a child who gets the powers of the gods. He has the strength of Hercules and the power of Zeus, all sorts of stuff like this. Basically, each one of the letters represent a god, or in Hercules' case, a demigod. But basically, each one of the gods give him a certain power, and he basically has to use this power to be the magic champion of Earth. So he basically has to protect Earth. He's considered to be Earth's greatest mortal. He's supposed to be their most powerful mortal, which kind of belongs to Superman right now, but definitely be interesting to see if Superman makes an appearance in this movie at all. But Shazam is basically very interesting because they can do one of two routes. They can do the old school, he's just a good kid and decides to kind of become Shazam and stuff, or they could do the jerk version, which is the New 52, where Shazam is kind of peeved off with, he's pissed because he's been in the adoption system for a long time. He's been in foster homes, in and out of them actually, and he knows that none of the places is to last. And then he finally goes and runs into what used to be called the Marvel family, which Freddy and Mary and all these guys, and well, we call them the Marvel family after they transform. But that's basically, he goes into this foster home where there's several other foster kids there, and once he gets his powers, eventually he can use his powers to give them powers. So it's very, very cool. So once they say Shazam, each one of them can turn into somebody. But it would be very, very cool to see if this is going to be mostly just the Shazam origin, or if they're waiting to basically for other future movies to set up the rest of the Marvel family like that. Will they call them the Marvel family? Who knows? But it's very, very interesting to see basically how they are going to go with that and go about that. But let's talk about the bad guy. The bad guy will not be Black Adam, because they said Black Adam's going to get his own movie. So maybe he'll make a cameo in this movie. It would be really, really cool to see Black Adam make a cameo. I feel like everyone would lose their shit in the theater if he just does like the superhero landing at the end of the movie or something. Just anything with Black Adam in it is going to be cool, because you really do want to see a Shazam versus Black Adam showdown at some point. Black Adam definitely would be an idea, but they said he's going to get his own movie, so I don't think they're going to feature him in this movie and get his own movie. I feel like that's a little overkill, and you don't want to waste the character a little bit. But next up on my list would probably be Dr. Sivana. Dr. Sivana, for those of you who don't know, is basically this crazy mad scientist in the comic books, and he's been Shazam's enemy for a long time, and he's basically Shazam's Lex Luthor. He plans against him, he plots against him, and he's trying to take him down, but he doesn't have any powers of his own, so he basically needs to do other things to take him down. And another thing that he could do is basically letting loose the 7 deadly sins. Now the 7 deadly sins is like hatred, greed, and all this other stuff, and it's basically the sins of man. They are basically personified and embodied within these 7 deadly sins, and they're let loose. And Dr. Sivana has let them loose in the past. So you could technically have both of them in this movie. He could be kind of the one pulling the strings, but he could let them loose, and Shazam has to fight them back. We don't know if that's going to be the case. It could be Sabbac, not necessarily a great idea, because Sabbac is basically kind of like Shazam also. He just gets his powers from different gods. I don't think that's a great idea, because if you're going to have Sabbac in there and then you're going to have another Black Adam movie, it's like, it becomes less special for Shazam to be Shazam and get the power of the gods, because it seems like a lot more people are getting them. But definitely Sabbac was an interesting idea, because it was a part of a storyline that featured both Shazam and Superman. It was called First Thunder, But definitely that would be a cool idea. The whole situation is definitely really interesting to see which direction they go in. I really want to see Superman cameo in this, even if it's as Clark Kent, basically kind of being nice to Billy Batson. Billy Batson is the kid named Shazam. Even if it's Superman just kind of being nice and hanging out with Billy Batson before all this happens, or he basically requires Superman's help in something, or whatever the situation may be. It would be really, really cool to see the DC movies kind of interconnected that way. If you want to throw in a character here or there, you can have kind of team up movies and stuff like that. This doesn't have to be a full team up because it is a Shazam movie and you don't want Superman to steal Shazam's thunder, pun intended, but definitely be interesting to kind of see him cameo here or there and see kind of what he can bring to the situation. Maybe you can have him get embarrassed by the Magic and let the Magic champion of the world kick their ass. Anyway guys, that's basically my idea of what I think is going to happen. I'm not bothered by Zachary Levi becoming the superhero. If you guys know, Ant-Man is Paul Rudd. That's another comedian. He got into decent shape. I feel like this guy's going to get into much better shape. And we all can say, yes, but Ant-Man's not jacked. He's blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it's very easy to get into much better shape. And then I feel like the suit itself will be muscled out to begin with. It's kind of like, Ben Affleck's big, the suit is bigger. It's definitely going to make him look even better than he actually does look. I'd say maybe the only person who just fills out his suit is Henry Cavill, and that's just because he's super jacked. Maybe, and Aquaman obviously because he's not wearing a suit, like guys like Thor who are not wearing suits. But the other people, the suit's supposed to make them look even bigger than they already look. So I'm not really bothered by Zachary Levi. I'm interested to see their take on it because now they have a guy who has comedic chops doing the Shazam role. This seems like it's gonna be a funny movie and a fun movie. Anyways guys, tell me what you think.
This is the Markham Knight telling you to like, comment, and subscribe.